The general strike against the duopoly is in 25 days. Now, to disrupt them requires a new strategy because you generally need one of two things to influence politics in this country. Option A is money, and people or companies who have lots of money have lots of influence over politicians. For most Americans, though, that's not practical, so they go with option B, picking a team, Republicans or Democrats. And when your political party has a victory, it feels like a win for you. But when we look around, we see those victories are largely illusions. Our political parties are so closely divided, so polarized, that gridlock in Washington prevents any major reforms from happening. That's good for people who benefit from the status quo, but most of us don't. In 2022, there's an option C, unionizing as voters. Remember picking teams for sports back in school? Imagine a class of 20 kids. There'd be 2 team captains, and they'd take turns choosing kids one by one until they're evenly split up into groups of 10. You might end up with an exciting contest, and that's all fine and good for a kickball game with a bunch of 12-year-olds. But in the adult world, it's a terrible model for democracy. America isn't a zero-sum game. Our success as a nation isn't based on defeating one team or the other, but on the quality of life for all of us. Peace, justice, and prosperity, those are the essential factors. So how do we do that? Well, let's go back to the example of kids picking teams. Now, normally, the last kids chosen might be thought of as the spoilers, the leftovers that nobody wanted. But imagine instead that the last 4 kids band together and tell the team captains, all of us or none of us. By forming a union, they suddenly have oversized influence on which team will be victorious. The captains recognize that they're not spoilers, but deciders. The American Union is doing the same thing with partisan politics. By putting a block of votes on the table, the candidates in each race will compete to get our support. What we lack in money, we can make up for in numbers with one national set of demands that leaves all of us better off. And that's the blueprint for a better America. Our crowdsourced legislation to end poverty, end mass incarceration, and end the endless wars. In 2022, we can change the dynamic. All of us or none of us, unionizing as voters. Join the general strike against the duopoly, and the marginalized millions who don't have the money to buy influence can leverage our votes for peace, justice, and prosperity.